This is Sky Blues Extra.
Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the Sky Blues Extra podcast, which is kindly sponsored by Shortland Horn, Coventry's leading estate agent. I'm David Moore and I'm joined this evening by Andrew.
All right, Dave, mate.
All good. And also Tom.
Evening, Dave. How you doing?
Very well. I'm delighted to say we're also joined on the show this evening by a very special guest. Our guest worked at Newport County and Worcester City before taking up his role at the Sky Blues. He took up his role at 2017. It was a very turbulent time at the club. Under his leadership, the club have bounced back to the Championship with lots of restructuring behind the scenes. I'm of course talking about CCFC Chief Executive Dave Boddy. Evening, Dave.
Evening, guys.
Thanks ever so much for coming on, Dave, and obviously taking some of your valuable time out to come and speak to us.
No, it's my pleasure. I'm always glad to support anything that supports the club.
Yeah, brilliant. And as is usual with a lot of our podcasts, and our followers will be, used to this, we try to kick off and give people a bit of a background about perhaps before your time at Coventry. So it was all to sort of find out, first of all, have you always been involved in football and sort of, if not, what did you do before?
Yeah, I've been very, very fortunate. I've worked virtually all of my working life in professional sport, not always football, but certainly sport. So I've been very lucky. When I left school, when I did my A levels, I was wanting to be a PE teacher, but during the sort of run up to the exams in sort of March, April of that year, there was an advert in the Sports Argus, which was the pink paper in Birmingham, Pink Sports. In Birmingham, for a position of commercial manager of Bromsgrove Rovers Football Club. So I applied for it, and at the age of 18, I got it. So I didn't go off to university to do a teaching degree. I started my career as a commercial manager, as I say, at Bromsgrove Rovers, who were in the Southern League at that time, and that got me into the profession, really. I'd always, I played a lot of football and cricket at school. I played sort of reasonable level of football at school. I sort of got to sort of county level. Okay. And likewise cricket. I played a lot of junior cricket. And so
bowler or a batsman, Dave?
Wicket-keeper, actually.
Okay.
So yeah, I kept wicket and bit of a batsman. Yeah, I played for a team called Pershore, who at the time, had a really strong club side, and so that's how I got into it. I left Bromsgrove after about a year, and then spent 3 years with Worcestershire County Cricket Club. In both roles, really, I was basically running lotteries. Lotteries in the late 70s and early 80s were, a major fundraiser for lots of sports clubs, and so that was
of course,
really. And from there, I went to another local club, Evesham United, and started my own business whilst I was there. So I ran a company called Sports Lines, and I'm not sure whether you guys will be old enough to remember Club Call. Club Call was basically a telephone information service.
Yes, yeah.
Into pre
Sadly.
Yeah.
Sadly, I remember it.
Pre-internet. So, a long story short, my business basically rivaled Club Call.
Okay.
It was a niche market. I had a niche market with non-league football clubs and other sports, speedway, ice hockey, all sorts of sports. And Club Call decided that they wanted to buy me up, so they bought my business, and I went to work for them for nearly 10 years.
Fantastic.
So that's sort of a bit of my background, and that was the point I joined Worcester City Football Club.
Yeah, brilliant. We was going to come on to that actually, because you're at chairman at Worcester City, and I suppose it'd be interesting to find out about your time there and perhaps how it differed from your role at the Sky Blues.
Yeah, I suppose in essence, I joined the club as a director in I think it was the year 2000. In essence, albeit the levels completely different, and the financial numbers that you're dealing are different, but the principles were all very similar. It's not it's not rocket science running a football club. The methods, whatever level, don't really change. So I started as a director, and the chairman who had been chairman for quite some time decided that he was going to stand down, and they asked me to replace him. So I think the issues that we had at Worcester, I was a director for nearly 10 years, and I'd like to think, although some of the supporters might not think this, but for a large period of that time, I did a really good job and I was really popular. But the problem that I faced at Worcester City was that they were trying to build a new stadium when I joined the club, and I had to pick that mantle up. I didn't really join. I hadn't got a lot of experience or any experience in building stadiums. I really joined the
Sure.
to try and help them run it. But and we got to a point in just before the banking crash in 2007 where there was just a moment in time where if the stars had aligned, we could have delivered it. But sadly, we didn't get the support we required from Worcester City Council, and they failed to deliver a planning application on the existing ground that in pre-application they had indicated they would do, and it's sort of collapsed from there, and the rest, as I say, is history.
And in the intro there, David mentioned obviously you took the role at CCFC in 2017. How did that sort of come about? How did you hear about the role and end up at Coventry City?
Well, I joined, I applied, the job was advertised for commercial director at the back end of 2016, which was obviously the relegation season. Obviously, Tony Mowbray had started the season as manager and had taken over as caretaker for a period of time, and Mark was reverting back to sort of running the club. I think his title was actually sporting director, but he was effectively doing the role that I'm doing now, and that he was looking to obviously improve the commercial side. They advertised for the position, and I applied for it, and unfortunately I got it. So that's how I started with the club. I accepted the position just after, I think, I was given and offered and accepted the position just after Christmas, just after Russell Slade had taken over. At that moment in time, when I took the job, I firmly believed that we could get out of the predicament that we were in. I think I came to watch a game, the New Year's Day game against Bolton Wanderers. Yeah. Which was a draw, and they were. I think they got promoted that season. And
last minute winner. I think that one. Yeah.
Remember that. And we got. I think we got points either one each or two each. Can't remember.
That was it. Last minute equaliser. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. But I thought that what a team, we got enough to get out of it. But obviously the next month or 6 weeks, as soon as I got in post, it became very clear very quickly that we weren't going to get out of it. And obviously, at the end of my first month, in the end of that March, that Russell Slade was sacked, and we were at that point we were virtually relegated.
Yeah, as you say, we were in a predicament. It was obviously a very difficult time for the club. When you came into the role, what were sort of your top priorities in those initial sort of few weeks and months?
Well, obviously, my remit was to develop the commercial side, but it was very, very difficult to do so on the backdrop of the failures on the pitch. That was also surrounded by, obviously there were fan protests. I don't know if you remember one of my first games. There were tennis balls thrown onto the pitch. Yeah. Later in the season, there were the pink flying pigs against Cheltenham Athletic. So against that backdrop, obviously there was a fairly strong movement against the ownership at the time, and it was very, very difficult. And very quickly I struggled to understand how it could possibly make an impact under those conditions. So it moved on and after the just before the Checkatrade final, Mark Venus resigned, and I applied for and successfully got the position of chief executive. So that sort of changed the parameters really.
Yeah.
A lot of people talk about, Dave, the Checker Trade final as a big turning point in the recent club's history. Do you agree with that, Dave?
Yeah, absolutely. I would 100% agree with that. Speaking to people at the time, there were people that had never been to Wembley with Coventry City in their sort of late 20s, early 30s. That didn't see the FA Cup final in '87. That there were fathers that had got young kids that had been to the '87 Cup final but hadn't seen much success or any cup success since that point. So 46,000 people turned out, and that was a real eye opener to me. I knew it was a big club when I came here. I'd grown up with Coventry City in the First Division and the Premiership, so I'd been to Highfield Road and the Rico before, so I was aware that it was a big club. I don't think I'd just realised quite how big it was until the Wembley game. The first day the tickets went on sale, we sold them out at the Butts Park Arena and obviously online, and we sold 19,000 tickets in the first day, and it was just phenomenal. And at that point, you've got a big club, and I think it made me even more determined to try and help the club to get back to its former glories, really.
Yeah, so
definitely. It was the Checker Trade and winning the game. Winning the game was really a bonus because, as I said, under Russell Slade, the 6 weeks that I watched under Russell Slade was probably the worst football that I've seen pro rata to the level anywhere I've been in my career. It was just what I was watching. It was just, it was unbearable at times. I felt for the supporters. So obviously, Mark came in just prior to the final and managed to get us in a position to win the game, which was brilliant for the supporters. And Wembley in cup finals is a day out. You for supporters, you want your day out, but it's always nice to come home with the trophy, isn't it? So it was just an excellent day, and I think that was the start of the turn for us.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It was a great day in the sun. How important was Mark Robins' appointment for the club bouncing back, do you think?
I think it was absolutely vital. What Mark's done goes without saying. It's unprecedented, isn't it? He's had 3 trophies, and dare I compare him with obviously Jimmy Hill's record, but I would think he won't be far off the most successful manager the club's ever had. I don't know how you measure that, by the way. That's
an argument, isn't it? That one.
It's a matter of opinion, isn't it? But
yeah,
certainly, it is. The club was at a pretty low ebb when he took over.
It was, yeah.
In every respect, the squad was poor. There's no other word for it. Recruitment hadn't worked the previous summer, and I think Mark knew that. Mark was, realistic enough to know that when he came in, he wasn't going to save us. We were going down with the the amount of games that we had left, and albeit he did well. I think he won 4 games out of his last 8 or 9. Just makes you wonder if he'd have been appointed a few weeks earlier, or even when Russell took the job at Christmas, whether he'd have managed to keep us in the division. But I know it's a painful experience going down, but I think we absolutely had to rebuild the club from top to bottom at that point. So we were at rock bottom, and really the only way was up from there, and that's been the way ever since.
Yeah, exactly. It's always tough, isn't it, getting relegated, and I suppose it's how you react to that. And it was really important, I think, to bounce back from that League Two. What was it that perhaps you were involved with to support Mark in helping that happen?
Well, I think that was on the backdrop that we were obviously having to make lots of cuts here to live with the cost of the cost or the price of League Two football, if you like. So we were I was trying to balance, making cutbacks here at Brighton against trying to put a side out on the part that would bounce back.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take the credit for it, but as I said earlier, the recruitment hadn't been great the previous summer, and I think Mark when he came into the club, he told the Joy and the ownership that he wanted a full-time recruitment department.
Yeah.
And we appointed Tommy Witherington and Stuart Bentham into those roles. I wasn't responsible for that. They were in post when I actually took over as CEO. But
sure.
Between myself and Mark, we nurtured the way forward, and I think that it was a massive clear out and rebuilding job. We signed something like 12 players that summer. And I think the key, Tommy Witherington had been around sort of League Two before. He was, he knew his way around League Two. Stuart Bentham was an experienced recruiter as well.
Yeah, of course.
So I think the plan was that we had to recruit players that were basically experienced in League Two players. And I think we got the recruitment, pretty well spot on. People like Rod MacDonald, Tom Davis, Peter Vincenti, who'd all played a lot of football in League Two, knew what it was about, and they built their relative successes at the relative clubs. And I think the two key signings amongst the dozen or so players that we signed were obviously the return of Michael Doyle, who basically led from the front and led us on the pitch to the promotion, and obviously the signing of Mark McNulty. They were the two on top of the people that experienced at the level. And to be fair, Doyle, albeit he obviously played with the club before and played at a much higher level, his previous experience was at Portsmouth, where he just captained them to promotion. So we recruited a group that were probably just for that season to get us out at the first attempt.
Yeah.
Most of the way through that season, both myself and Mark thought that we were going to struggle to go up automatically. And, from quite an early stage, whilst automatic would have been ideal, I think we always felt that the playoffs was the route that we were going to go up through. And, I think it formed just at the right time, didn't we? We found the right sort of momentum in sort of early April. I think we had that horrible hammering up against Yeovil at home on I think it was Easter Monday, and from that,
I remember that.
We look back at everything seemed to click, and we clicked just at the right time for the playoffs.
And traction, wasn't it? It really
traction for the playoffs, and then obviously. Went into the two Notts County games. We were flying, and whilst I think we maybe had a little bit of lady luck during the legs. There's no doubt that the second leg at Meadow Lane, which by the way still remains my favourite moment in my Sky Blues career. That night was just something to behold. Albeit we had a little bit of luck with our refereeing decision. We were awesome on the night, and
it was electric, wasn't it?
And the 4,500 Sky Blue Army on the far side from where I was sat. It was that was a real picture, and the noise that the fans generated, as they always do away from home, was just brilliant. It was just I think it still remains my favourite night.
Yeah, I think there's be a lot of Sky Blues fans that would agree with you there on that, Dave. And obviously, it was a roller coaster, and we eventually cracked it, and we went up. And of course, then there was further investment in League One, and you mentioned there about the League Two and building a squad that had to be able to go up. And but in League One, there was a strong squad building. Do you think there was more focus on a football side than perhaps there had been in recent years, and we've seen that style develop?
I don't know. It's difficult for me to say because obviously I hadn't been here previously. Are you meaning from the owners or what?
Well, just in terms of the squad building to build for League One. Obviously, it's always going to be difficult to make that jump up from League Two to League One. But there was further investment in sort of the playing side of things and also the football, the style that Mark brought.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean. Also, at the back end, during the period of time we just talked about, but just before the Notts County game, obviously Tommy Witherington decided that his future lay elsewhere at Bristol Rovers. So that was quite an upheaval at a crucial time because,
of course,
recruitment. You do your work for your recruitment long before you actually make the signings. So Chris Padlam was brought in during that period of time, and obviously prior to Wembley, we didn't know whether we'd be playing in League Two or League One. So you've got to be preparing for both, as was Tommy when he was in situ. But no, I think we were fortunate that obviously we sold Mark McNulty to Reading for a substantial fee, and the beauty of the deal, from my point of view, was that we got the vast majority of that money up front, and the owners allowed us to reinvest some of it. Obviously, I think we paid money during that August window for players for the first time for quite a long time.
Sure.
First of all, we signed Bakayoko from Walsall, and we'd always Connor Chaplin had always been our number one target as a striker all the way through the process. When Tommy Richardson was in place, Connor was the player that we wanted. When Chris came in, Chris was really hot on Connor as well. Mark Roberts, so he'd been the number one target. And then when at the very, very back end of that window, I think it almost happened in the last week of August, he became available, and we'd been trying for probably 6 to 8 weeks. We'd made offers.
Wow.
Yeah. It became available, and we did the deal, and but the deal was done over a period of time which allowed us to cash flow it, and I think we that's probably the investment you should sort of refer to, really. But
yeah, of course.
Along again, I think we brought another sort of almost, I think, in that window as well. So we knew that the players that had got us out of League Two were only a short-term fix to get us back into League One, and we would have to go again, and we did. So I think when you get onto a roll and start winning, confidence grows.
Of course.
Not just it's throughout the club. It grows in the dressing room. It grows within the management. I think it grows from within the ownership as well. I think Joy and SISU could see what Mark and supported by myself were about, and she was happy with the way it was going, and she was happy to support what we were doing, and has all the way through this journey. There's been absolutely no interference from them. They have let us run the club, how we believe it should be run. And between myself and Mark, we make all of the sort of day-to-day decisions, and I suppose you stand or fall by that. But so far, it's I'd like to more decision right than we got wrong, and it's obviously got us to where we are today.
Mm. And obviously we had that season in League One, which felt like a bit of a sort of consolidation season, really. Obviously, we finished 8th. And then it felt like we had a really good window in summer of 2019. A lot of fans regard it as, the best recruitment we've done probably for a long, long time. Obviously, Chris Padlam was heavily involved in that. What do you think went so well in that kind of transfer window?
Well, I think, as I said before, the target, you get your targets early. So, as of today, we are, the recruitment departments are working toward next summer's recruitment. And again, that's very difficult because every year we've not known which division we're going to be in. And please don't take that as a negative comment, but obviously there is still a chance that we might not retain our championship status. We are all committed and convinced we will, but you have to have one eye again if we don't. So you're looking at all aspects of where you might be recruiting for. And the way the process works is that Mark identifies the way he wants to play, and we've established over the last couple of years the style of football that we play, and I'm sure that most fans will agree. It's been pretty good to watch the last sort of 18 months. And then at that point, he highlights the positions that he needs and wants to improve in, and the type of player that he wants to fill those positions. And it's over to Chris to go away and work on potential recruitments. And he doesn't come back with one or two. We have a hit list in every position based on probably the best desire that in a perfect world with unlimited cash, down to free transfers and sort of cheaper players and younger players in each position, really. So then, an assessment's made by Mark as to which way he wants to go with that particular position, and then obviously we make an assessment on how we spend the money across the budget, really. So it was a good window. There's no doubt about it, and I think that we all felt that we had on the back of the first consolidation season, as you call it. The second half of that season went particularly well. If you remember, Bright came in and we were. We looked a far better side the second half of the consolidation season, and I think there was a genuine feeling in the camp that if we got the recruitment right during that summer, then we would have a good chance of, at the very least, making the playoffs. Which, as we all know now, it was a bit better than that, wasn't
it? Just a little bit.
You're listening to Sky Blues Extra.
And the title-winning season was obviously amazing for us fans, Dave. Firstly, what were your personal highlights? And then secondly, when did you get the feeling we were going to get promoted and win the league?
Personal highlights, there were lots, weren't there? I think I got the sense shortly after Christmas that it was going to be, I knew, just after Christmas that we would definitely make the playoffs, and I had it in my mind that we really had to push for the championship. I think the Portsmouth victory at home, the late 1-0 victory over Pompey, was the moment that I knew that we were going to win the league, and I think that came from we were just on a roll, weren't we? The last 9 league games of last season before it was curtailed, we won 8 and drew 1. And, we were keeping clean sheets. And, we were just nicking the odd goal. Obviously Matty Godden was on fire, wasn't he? And we kept winning games 1-0 and 2-1, the old 1-0 to the Arsenal. Was very appropriate to us. We were masters at it. The last game at Ipswich. Talk about highlights. I think the 2 away games at Ipswich were pretty special. That to go there and win the FA Cup replay midweek, and I got to say, I don't know whether
we blew them away, didn't we, that day?
We battered them. It's a favourite expression of mine. Certainly, the first half we battered them. And it could have been more comfortable than 2-0 at half time. Shippers had an outstanding game that night, and I think Sam Callum had a great game. And they got one back, and we had a nervy 5 minutes at the end. But that, and then to go there the last game, and we did a similar job on them. So I think they were 2 highlights. But the fact that we got on that roll after Christmas, and there wasn't any stopping us. I think the only thing that was going to stop us was COVID. I've got absolutely no doubt that had we continued to play the season and COVID hadn't come, we would have won the league. It's just to me, we'll never know by how many points it would have been, because I think we were 5 points clear of the promotion spot with the game in hand, weren't we, when the season was curtailed. So I have no doubts in my mind that had the season finished, we'd have won it.
100%. And I think when you speak to any chairman or owner of the other clubs down the League One, and they had no problem with us going up, did they, through the points per game system? Yeah, you're absolutely spot on there, because everywhere we went, and it happened all the way through the season, not just at the end. Everywhere we went, even in the first half of the season, when we were dropping points, I think we conceded a very late equaliser at Peterborough. I was there that game.
And we should have won. Yeah. The Oxford United game went a similar way, didn't it? Away from. But everywhere we went, people said you're the best team in the league. And that's no consolation when you're dropping points that you probably shouldn't have done at the time. But it was a coincidence that everywhere we went, the other clubs told us that. Certainly, when it came to the points per game conclusion, I think everybody in the league was gracious enough to say that we deserved to win the league. So that makes it that's the way it was.
Yeah, and how was your nerves when waiting for the news after lockdown?
I wouldn't say I was nervous, because again, I had this belief at the beginning of the lockdown that would be the only conclusion. We very much kept our own counsel, because we were sat in pole position. The EFL had a teams meeting for the division, the whole league, of which there was probably 2 or 3 people from each club representing clubs. So they're big calls, and there were some quite bitter calls along the way. For clubs with obviously vested interests in the position, or because they were just missing out on either playoff places or automatic promotion places. So it was a difficult time, and some people that I've got a lot of respect for in the game over a long period of time really sort of showed their true colours during those calls. But we kept our own counsel, and we just waited and waited. I think the frustrating thing for me was that because I was representing the clubs on the call, I had to relay and relive all the information to everybody I spoke to afterwards. Obviously the owners, the manager, Tim Fisher, the staff, and everybody, because it was such a difficult period and a surreal period of lockdown, everybody wanted to speculate as to what was going to happen. So I'd tell the story, what happened on the call, and speculation from all the people I've just met, and it's natural, but it was just very, very wearing. The speculation of getting us to the end result, which what I never had any doubt that we're going to have, was the wearing thing really. And the day it was actually delivered, I came into Wrighton, into my office, because obviously we were still in lockdown, but we thought the decision was going to happen on the afternoon. And we got wind earlier in the day, so Mark Robbins came in as well, and he was sat in the office with me, and he was very nervous. Mark Robbins doesn't do nervous, very, very nervous. He was strolling around, and you could see the anxiety in his face. But I never had any doubt that we were going to get to that conclusion, and happily we did.
Much of the other fantastic work, Dave, that's gone on behind the scenes is the Hummel deal. It's obviously produced some excellent kits now in the last couple of seasons. How pleased are you with that partnership?
It's been a breath of fresh air. It's been phenomenal. I don't know. I can find no superlative to describe it really.
Similar for us with the kits, I think.
Yeah, and we I mean, what we've got with Hummel, Hummel is obviously a Danish company, and there's a company in the UK called Elite that's got the license to deliver Hummel in the UK.
Okay.
And the working relationship we've got with them is fantastic. They've got a designer called Rob Revel who's just outstanding, and I think he loves working with us because we put so much time and energy into the kit designs. I think I've spent more time designing football kits in the last 4 years than I've done in the rest of my whole work together. And we do. Yeah, it is. And there's 4 of us in a little committee that sort of makes all the decisions about what the shirt should look like and what we're wearing. And that's Mike Reed, Tynan Scope, and Mark Hornby and myself. And we've had a lot of fun along the way. But the designs, we're just delighted with the designs. Hummel actually came to us when Hummel wanted to were pitching for the business. They was, and it was them that wanted to deliver last year's first team shirt, which was obviously
throwback
to the later 80s shirt when they had a couple of years with the club just after the cup final win. Came to us, and that was their vision. We then did a lot of intricate design to that shirt internally with Rob's help, and then the rest, it just took off from there. We love it as well. It's a nice distraction from the real job, really. But it's because the amount of shirts that we sold last year, there aren't any records. There aren't any records going back to of shirt sales in the Premiership sort of days already, but I don't believe that we will have sold as many shirts in the Premiership days as we sold last year.
Yeah,
I think that will be the highest amount of shirts this club has ever sold. Obviously, the two-tone shirt was a massive part of that.
Of course.
And that itself was a great journey. That came, as you probably heard, from an idea that we picked up from a supporter at supporters evening at the launch of the Bedworth and Nuneaton.
Brilliant.
And we he said something to us, and myself and Tynan looked at each other, and we ran off with the idea and made it happen. So the shirts have been excellent, and I hope this year's shirts have been sort of equally as well received, and the shirt sales have been phenomenal, and the financial returns for the club have been excellent. We more than doubled our net income last season from the previous season.
Brilliant.
On retail sales.
It doesn't, it's not a shock to us. We put out a kit competition on our Twitter page for all of the SkyBluesExtra followers, and the final, it was a knockout competition, and they made it the two kits, so the original and the throwback. So not a surprise to hear that they did so well. Moving forward with kits, of course, you mentioned there about the third kit from last season was fantastic. Is there anything that's in the pipeline for the Sky Blues, obviously going forward, and also obviously the kit from the special membership, which was a really nice touch and looked great? Yeah,
we are about to launch a third kit. I can't put a timescale on that, but all I would say is it will be soonish, rather than later. So it will certainly be in the shops and on sale. Well, sorry, in the shops. That's a Freudian slip because obviously the shop's not open at the moment, but it'll certainly be for sale online in time for Christmas. It's another exciting project that we've undertaken. So I won't say any more. I don't want to spoil that surprise, but. Watch this space. Yeah. And the membership kit, and at this point I really should say thank you to everybody that's purchased a membership. Obviously, season tickets were impossible to put on sale with the COVID situation, and I think that people were telling us they wanted to support the club, so we put this membership package together, with the shirt being the sort of pinnacle of that.
Of course.
And the support from the supporters has just been phenomenal. So we really appreciate everybody that has been able to purchase a membership, because it's really been a big help for the club. And the shirt is due. Obviously, it's a bespoke shirt. It's been made to order with everybody's name on there.
Of course, yeah.
So I think the lead time for any shirt is about 3 months. So we're expecting delivery, I think, mid-January of the shirt. And once it's in sort of in situ, and everybody that's bought a membership's got one, we will then obviously play one game in it, home game in the Championship in the new year.
Is it quite difficult to arrange that with the EFL, or is it just with the shirt, or is it quite?
It's not the EFL, it's the FA.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, the FA, I have to say, have been quite difficult, particularly with the third shirt we're launching now, and that will become clear, sort of down the line. Their regulations are not particularly clear on what you can't do with a shirt.
Sure.
And I think it's fair to say that they've stopped us going to the extent that we wanted to do with some of the shirts. I think Rob Breville, the guy that designs them, calls them a thing of beauty, and that's what we're trying to make. We're trying to make something that is something up there as part of history forever for Sky Blues fans. But we've been sort of held back by FA legislation and regulations, if you like, and so it's not always easy.
Yeah, sure. Well, we're definitely excited to see what the third kit looks like. I think there's a lot of different opinions going about what it could be, so that'll be exciting.
All I can say is you won't be disappointed.
Well, I'm sure. No, we've got high expectations now, so no, it's very exciting. Another thing that was a little change in the summer was obviously the sponsorship of the club, the kit sponsor with Boyle Sports. Just wanted to find out a bit more about sort of how that partnership came about, and I guess how it sort of benefits the club commercially.
Yeah, I think obviously going into the championship, the numbers that shirt sponsorships attract in terms of the financial rewards change quite dramatically as you go up from League One to the Championship. So I think at this point I should obviously thank Allsop and Allsop for their magnificent support over the years, not just financially on the shirt, but physically as well. They as a family, they've been great supporters of the club since I've been here. Carl and Lewis are obviously the brothers that run Allsop and Allsop, and their dad Gary, who's known to a lot of people. Their support, both financially and in kind, has been brilliant along the way. But I think it became clear that they weren't going to continue to take the shirts in the Championship. So obviously the options in terms of the monies that you're looking to raise from sponsorship become very much limited to bookmakers, which is probably a controversial topic with some people, but they are the people that pay the money. So there were 3 or 4 online companies and companies that were interested. But I think through the connection that we had with Birmingham City, Ball Sports indicated really early on that they wanted to be, they wanted a tender for it, and they were the ones that came out on top. And I have to say, so far they've been good fun to work with. They've been decent people to work with. They've done quite a lot of social media stuff, which has been quite an additional attraction to what they've done with us commercially, and obviously putting their names on the shirt.
Yeah, I've noticed a few of the videos they've been doing with the players and stuff. Obviously, it's good to sort of drive that social media engagement, isn't it?
I think they did it. I haven't actually seen the footage, but they did something with. They had a darts match between us and Blues for just before the game on Friday evening, which I believe we won. So that's. But I haven't actually seen that. But lots of fun little things like that. So which I just think it keeps it interesting, doesn't it? And the partnership, really.
Yeah, definitely, especially in lockdown when the fans want something to watch online. Yeah, it's great. Something else that has obviously always been superb at Coventry City is the academy. It's obviously produced some terrific talents. How are things going with the academy? And do you think we can still expect to see the next Callum Wilson and sort of James Maddison coming through in the next couple of years?
Yeah, things are going really, really well at the academy. The timing of that question is quite appropriate. I don't know whether you saw my programme notes from the...
Yeah, I did, yeah.
I just actually said in my notes that Dan Bolus, is the new academy manager, is just celebrating his first anniversary in post. And he's done a fantastic job. He had massive shoes to fill, taking over from Rich Stevens, who'd done a great job, and he's just taken us on to another level, Dan, under the difficult circumstances of the lockdown that we've been through. So there's lots of players in there that we should be watching for. Certain ones that have obviously graduated recently. We've got high hopes for Wilbur Parker, who's obviously breaking into the squad, and there's lots of younger players. As you may have seen yesterday, Ryan Howley signed his first professional contract. He's still a scholar. Celebrated his 18th birthday on Monday and signed his first pro contract. He's very highly thought of, and lots of clubs we're looking at him during the summer and trying to get him away from us. Players like Harrison Nee, And there's I wouldn't say production line, but there's lots of names to watch out for coming through, so scholarship and beneath that. So it's obviously, when we were in League Two, it was a lot easier to get players into the side from the academy.
Of course, yeah.
And then the championship, to produce championship players through an academy is a far taller order than it is to produce League Two players.
Sure.
We will continue to hopefully keep that conveyor belt working, because it's been fantastic for the club and the players that come through it.
You're listening to Sky Blues Extra.
Within the COVID world, Dave, obviously it's had a massive impact on the world generally, but what impact has it had on us, on the club commercially?
Well, it's had a big impact. Obviously, there are very few commercial activities you can do. A lot of our commerciality is about stuff that we do on match days. That's just gone completely.
Yeah.
The non-football stuff, like obviously we have our race day at Warwick race course and our sportsman's evenings, those sort of things. That they've all gone. It's been massive. It's just a knock-on effect throughout the whole club, and we like everybody, not just in football, because I think every football club's suffering. But I would imagine that all businesses are feeling the pain when you can't have customers through your door. You're going to feel the pain, and that's the situation that the country and the world finds itself in at the moment. So we're no different to anybody else. But obviously, we need to get supporters back into the stadium. Yeah. As soon as we can, and the announcement that Boris made yesterday is a start. I'm not sure exactly when that will happen, because we're still not sure at this stage what tiers that Birmingham and Coventry will be in when we're locked down, when we come out of this current lockdown. But we will do our best to get supporters back in as quickly as we possibly can. And I think it's important for the fans. Like you said, it's something something to watch during lockdown. Well, we're all football fans. I'm a football fan. You're all football. You've been starved of live football. I've been fortunate enough to be able to go to see the games. Yeah. But we just need to get supporters back in to watch games. If it's 2,000 to start off with, then so be it. Then there's going to be 2,000 lucky people. Whilst it probably won't help us financially, it certainly, it'll be a help to the team. It'll start to create a little bit of atmosphere in the stadiums and start to get people back doing what they love every Saturday.
Yeah, it's a release for people, isn't it? And for people's mental health, it's important that they have something to focus on. And football is a lot of people's focus, and without that, at the moment, it will affect people, won't it, Dave?
Absolutely, and the mental health thing. We've been concerned about all that all the way through for obviously our own internal staff and players when we were in lockdown, but for the mental health of our supporters. We appreciate what we mean to the community and to our fans, and it's just vital that we get people back in stadiums as soon as we can.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel now, hopefully. Fingers crossed. What are your thoughts on, obviously, the winter survival package that the government announced recently? I know you're not particularly happy about it, so so go on.
Just before we came on the call, a friend of mine rang me up and said, "You're not happy?" And I said, "No."
Even I knew you weren't happy.
No, I'm not happy. I think the government has left EFL clubs hung us out to dry, really. I really, really welcome the support that the government's given to the 11 sports that it has supported, and I also noted in that it hasn't supported cricket, which I told you I'm a big cricket fan and lover, and I'm just for them as well, because they've had exactly the same problems. But I put the story out there last week. I've written to the Prime Minister yesterday. I've written to Oliver Dowden. I've written to all the surrounding local MPs to ask them to lobby the government for support for the EFL. I don't believe it's the place of the Premiership to Premier League to support us. they do a phenomenal amount for EFL clubs and below already. I think I said, we get in this championship season, we'll be receiving £4.6 million per championship from the Premier League before they're being asked to support us. So I don't think it's their place. I think the government should be trying to support everybody, and I do believe that football in terms of our place in our communities, as we just said, people's mental health and all the other things that go with it. I believe that football is an integral part of the community it serves up and down the country, and I think the government has to help us.
Well, how can they legislate for one sport and not another?
Yeah, well,
it makes no sense to me.
I find it difficult. Yeah. I find it difficult to understand, and I'm sure that the Premier League, if push comes to shove, and the government don't do anything, but I think the Premier League have already said that they won't let any clubs die.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're starting to get to the point now where clubs will feel the pinch.
Oh, they will. Yeah, definitely.
I think I read a stat somewhere that there were 10 EFL clubs that couldn't meet November's payroll. So I'm not sure how they're going to get past that point, but there is going to be support needed. If not from the government, then the Premier League.
Yeah, I was going to ask that, Dave, because obviously championship clubs like ourselves and maybe like Wycombe, Luton, that perhaps don't have parachute payments that come from the Premiership, they need more support in times especially like this. Is there any other avenues that you think that can support, or is it really the government and perhaps the Premier League if push comes to shove?
I don't see any anywhere else. I mean the question about the smaller clubs. I mean, the Championship as a league has got so many different size clubs in it. Yeah. They're very difficult to. There's not a one size fits all. There's been talk about a salary cap, but again, because of the relegated clubs with the parachute payments that they need to support the massive contracts that they give players in the Premier League, there's just such a disparity between.
Very difficult transition period as well.
Yeah, it's very difficult to find a balance, for a salary cap. I mean, that's something that will be on the agendas very shortly, but I don't see us rushing into it. I think League One and League Two rushed into it, at the back end of our tenure in League One. The last 2 or 3 calls that I was on as a League One club when, during that frustrating period that I talked about, that was the only other talk apart from how the leagues would be decided was about salary caps, and I think that they found it very difficult then to get the right balance for League One, which had a range of clubs in it. So to find the balance for the Championship is going to be very, very difficult, I think.
Yeah. We've obviously heard about the fantastic support that the fans have given the club, of course, with sales, and we've had a really successful commercial in that. What is there any more that the fans can get involved with? Of course, things like iFollow, they generate some good reviews. Yeah. We've heard perhaps about how that's changed.
iFollow is one of the 2 real incomes that we've got at the moment. That and obviously retail sales. So iFollow is essential to our current revenue streams, and I actually think it's a good product. I only watched one game live once. I missed a game last season. I was away in Spain and I watched the Accrington Stanley game on iFollow, and I was really pleasantly surprised what a good product it was. The revenue, the match subscriptions, the £10 match subscriptions. Apart from the VAT element in it, we keep all of that. So that is without turnstile income. That's a massively important revenue for us, and obviously equally important. It gives the supporters the opportunity to watch games when they can't come into the stadiums. I know we've done a piece recently about pirating, and I know it's probably again an emotive topic amongst supporters, but really would encourage people to pay through the proper channels rather than try and take illegal streams, which the EFL are trying to close down at every opportunity. And I think they are and will be looking to prosecute people that put them out there. But a vital form to us.
Yeah, and obviously we've appeared on Sky, I think 4 times already this season. We're like the Leeds of Championship last season. Do we get a lot of revenue from that, from being on Sky when we're at home? Is that a good source of revenue?
Yeah, absolutely, yes. And they tend to be on Friday nights, haven't they? So I've quite enjoyed the Friday nights at St Andrews. We do. We get a set fee. Each club, the home and away club, gets a set fee. And, we actually at the beginning of the season only budgeted for 3 games.
Wow.
So the 4th game on Friday against Blues became a real bonus. And, I like a few more of those if we can, because income that will go straight back into the running of the club.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully a few more this season. And we saw the statement that came out recently around the Warwick University partnership and obviously the new stadium conversations. When can we sort of expect to hear a bit more news on that and perhaps some kind of more concrete plans?
Well, as you can well imagine and understand, there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes. It got sort of held up during the first lockdown. And then, obviously when the... we had the sort of second wave. I know Warwick University had lots of cases of COVID on campus, so they had to be concerned about, obviously making the university function more so than obviously worrying about, outside concerns. So it got put back or delayed, shall we say, a little bit. But there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes. There's important meetings going on this week. I think tomorrow and Thursday. They're all working towards obviously pre-planning. So I don't expect, it's not something we can keep. It's difficult to keep saying nothing as well. We're conscious.
Sure. Yeah, it's a difficult balancing act, isn't it, I suppose?
The supporters need to know what's happening. But I think the next announcement will probably be early in the new year. But just rest assured, there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes to make that the next steps possible.
Yeah, sure. And in terms of
more importantly, the partnership we have with Warwick University is such that I don't personally think there's possibly a better partner out there. They are driven to help us deliver this.
Brilliant.
It happen if it's possible. So obviously there's a long way to go, a lot of hurdles to overcome.
Sure.
All the normal planning hurdles. So and transportation issues. So there's a lot of work to be done before we even get to the planning application. But that work is sort of in the process of being undertaken as we speak.
Yeah, sure. Appreciate it. It's obviously very early days, but have you kind of thought about, what kind of stadium you think the club should have, the sort of size and of where we're at now as a club? Have you thought about much about that?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not heavily involved with that. I have to say that the whole thing has been driven by Joy. It's her dream, it's her vision. She knows what she wants. I think it will probably be, obviously to deliver the stadium in the first instance is obviously the important bit. But I think she would want to deliver something that has the ability to expand, and be future-proofed if we need to. So beyond that, I can't say an awful lot.
You're listening to Sky Blues Extra.
What is your 5-year plan for the club? And are we aiming to build a sustainable back to the Premier League following like the Brentford model, Dave?
I think the Brentford model is a very attractive model. And I think it's a model that we've sort of followed in a mini way on the way through this journey in terms of our recruitment and our buy, and our selling. I mentioned Connor Chaplin earlier, and for me, that was a key piece of business. We bought him for a figure from Pompey. Yeah. We had him for a season. I actually think had he stayed and played in this current group of players, he would have, he would have been a great success in this group of players. And style of football that we play. It didn't quite work out, and obviously Barnsley came along, and we actually made a profit on Connor, quite a substantial profit, and we hadn't even finished paying for him. So that's for me, that's the way to do business. We sold a player before we'd even finished buying cash flow. So, and we made a profit, and that's the way you have to look, and that's what we're trying to do in terms of our recruitment with the people we bring in and the people we've brought in this summer. So I think that's the only way you can, without a substantial cash injection, and the owners are supporting it to quite a hefty tune, under these current circumstances.
Yeah, of course. It's polishing in those rough diamonds, isn't it? It's like the players like Gustavo Hamer, for example. He's like a rough diamond, and if we get him for like a season, polish him, and he looks an absolute talent, and then sell him on for a decent fee. That's the kind of model we're looking at, isn't it, Dave?
It is, and I was thinking about Gus when I was talking, but you've named him. So he'll probably be the shining light of what we've done in the recruitment this year. And again, we spent quite, by our standards, quite a big fee on him. But again, the way that we structured the deal is we're paying that down to over 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
So, and again, if everything goes well for us and Gus, then again, we will hopefully sell him for a substantial profit, and you keep moving the model on that way. So the brand was not dissimilar to that. They paid, I think, about $2 million for Ollie Watkins and sold him for 30. So I know those numbers are probably way beyond us at the moment, but in a small way, that's what we're trying to do. And not just Gus, but obviously you look back to the business we did last. You talked about last year's promotion window, August 19 window, and you look at players like Frankie Dabo, Michael Rose. They had tremendous seasons, and they've almost put themselves into those sort of brackets as well. They had injuries during the summer, which mean that they haven't probably started the season as well as we would all have liked. But they're trying to get their fitness whilst playing. They didn't have a closed season, so but again, those type of players from both of them were free transfers, and both of them are worth quite a considerable amount in the transfer market as we speak. So the Brentford model is the sort of model we're working on, and we believe that's probably the only way we're going to generate the budget to be able to compete at the next level within the Championship. So when you talk about 5-year plans, that probably takes up almost your 5-year plan.
Yeah, 100%. And what other ingredients do you think we need to progress the club forward, Dave?
Well, we keep working at what stuff that we're doing here at Brighton. Keep trying to improve Brighton, and the facilities we got within. We purchased in the closed season a Ultra G machine, which was a lot of money, and I mean a lot of money. It was like signing it was the cost of signing a League Two player. But what it does, it allows players to run without any gravity, so there's no weight bearing on. So it's meant we've been able to get people like Frankie and Michael Rose back a lot quicker than we might have done or would have done without the equipment. So things like that to become, all the sports science we're looking at, and just trying to improve it bit by bit, slowly, surely, as we go along. So what we do off the field is almost as important as what we do on the field. You have to try and get all those little gains to sort of sustain your position in the Championship, which is what we're trying to do this season, and then go again.
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned there about the sports scientists. We heard from some of the players that it was great during lockdown that they had that regular upkeep, I suppose, with the sports scientists to keep them sort of on the boil. I suppose you mentioned it earlier on about Joy and SISU and how they'd allowed you and Mark to sort of get on with that. And we've mentioned obviously about the stadium on a sort of day-to-day role. Is there how does that sort of work with the relationship?
Well, first and foremost, we have an excellent relationship. I don't speak to Joy that regularly, 2 or 3 times a month maybe,
Sure.
as and when need to basis, really.
Yeah.
Always very supportive of everything we do. People ask me what she like as a person. I think there's a mystery around her. She's a charming lady, but first and foremost, she is absolutely passionate about Coventry City. She's very, very knowledgeable about the club, not only about the club but about the industry as well.
Yeah.
She is very approachable. We myself and her sat down with a couple of supporters of Sky Blue Talk just before lockdown, and we sat there for 2 or 3 hours talking. And I think supporters would be very, very surprised if they had that opportunity.
Yeah.
Because she is so passionate about what we do. And that, I think that that doesn't come across because she's probably a private person, and sort of opened up like this social media world that we live in sort of wants, really. But I think as I said, she's trusted in Mark and then myself to deliver what we're doing, and she's let us get on with it. We speak sort of a couple of times a week to Laura Deering, who's sort of Joy's right-hand lady at SISU.
Yeah.
Myself and Tim Fisher speak every day, without fail. So that's the sort of communication lines, really. But they within reason, they let us do what we feel we need to do to try and take the club forward.
Brilliant. And we also heard, obviously, you mentioned about some of the highlights of your day-to-day role, including the kits, which is a good fun exercise, I suppose, away from some of the boardroom stuff. But just around challenges in your role, what are the most challenging parts of what you do?
I think the biggest challenge we have as a football club, and obviously ultimately falls to me, is without doubt the fact that we're not playing in Coventry. We can't get away from that fact. It makes it difficult to have any sort of long-term sort of structure in place in terms of when you talk about your 5-year plan. We've got that plan on the field, but it would be so much easier if we could support it, by being back in Coventry and selling to the businesses of Coventry, into the businesses and the community by being here in Coventry. So I think that's probably the most difficult challenge we face. But we just get on with it. We have to. You can only play the cards you dealt with, can't you? So we get on with trying to make the best of it. We try to improve on what we do every day. But that along with the COVID has made it a very difficult year this year, I think.
Yeah, and there's clearly been a lot of restructuring, a lot of hard work that you've put in over the sort of 3 years you've been here. What would you say is your proudest achievement in that time?
I think the success. You can't get away from the success. I feel I've been a big part of that. I try and support Mark with everything that he wants. Again, it's all measured, but I've tried to sort of, I'd like to think of me as sort of driving the bus on the journey. He's the conductor, if you like, but I'm sort of driving it. So it's been an amazing achievement to go from. When I walked into the club in March 17, it was a desperate place. There's no getting away from that fact. To turn it around how we have done, and to get the club back to, obviously the very least we expect to be, I think as supporters, the Championship has just been an amazing achievement for everybody that's been on the journey, really, and we should all be proud of it. I certainly am. You talk about highlights. I think for me, I'll talk about the Notts County game. Obviously we had the 2 Wembley games. They're great. The one thing that will always stay in my memory as long as I live was I on the back of the promotion when at Wembley, the open top bus parade. I said at the time, I thought that we'd probably have 50,000 people on the streets. I think looking back, I think it was probably double that. It was just an amazing night, and
incredible.
Live in my memory. It was just a phenomenal experience. And we milked it going from right into the Guildhall, and we went around every twist and turn, every corner we went. There was just thousands of people hanging out of trees and out of bedroom windows. It was just an amazing night. So that was probably the highlight. Apart from obviously the success we've had. Yeah,
I never realised there were so many people in Coventry until that day.
Phenomenal, wasn't it? So
brilliant.
Where did you guys? Did you guys watch the parade? Were you on the street somewhere?
I wasn't, unfortunately. A couple of us living down in London, so it's quite tricky to get back up. But obviously, we were there at the games and stuff, and at Wembley and all that. But terrific.
Again, when I talked about the 46,000 at Wembley Trade game, again that night on the bus just showed what this club means to the people of Coventry.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and something you've touched on a bit throughout, obviously the fans and the Sky Blue Army. What do you think of the support they've given, I guess, the club and vocally to the team, particularly in that title-winning season? What would you say about them?
Not just in the title-winning season, throughout the whole journey that I've been in the club, they've been nothing short of phenomenal. Particularly away from home, the vocal support that we've had away from home throughout the whole journey. And you can think back at the game. I'm thinking back to the Peterborough game, not last season, the season before. The noise that we made that day was just phenomenal. That was just phenomenal. And I'll talk about the Notts County game, but most away games we've had that along the journey, and obviously the support both in numbers, and it was not quite the same. I think that the Rico, obviously support sort of dissipated around the stadium, isn't it? When you're away from home, all supporters
packed in, yeah,
and it creates that atmosphere. At the Rico, they're spread around, so it's not quite the same. At Birmingham, I think we've had it at Birmingham because obviously all of our supporters were in the one stand in the Cop stand at Birmingham.
Yeah, close to the pitch as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and I thought we created a phenomenal atmosphere last season, and that's why I think it's important we get supporters back as quickly as we can, because we want to try and regenerate that atmosphere again. But the FA Cup ties against Blues, those were highlights.
Yeah.
The first game, the 0-0 draw, when I think there was 23,000 there, we were just magnificent. The support, the atmosphere was just incredible. So, I can't say enough good things about the supporters. They've been fantastic for the team. Generally been good for me, and the support is, it really, really has been appreciated and vital. A vital part and ingredient of the success we've had.
Brilliant, Dave. And that's pretty much all we've got time for. I'm sure the Sky Blues fans would be able to listen to you, and we could talk for you all evening. But firstly, I just want to say, obviously, thank you for coming on tonight. But mainly, I want to say on behalf of all the Coventry fans, a massive thank you for your tireless work over the past 3 years. As fans, we feel that the club's really progressed enormously on and off the pitch, and I'm sure a lot of that is down to yourself. So obviously, thanks for that, and thanks for coming on.
Well, thank you. I have to say that I love every minute of every day I'm at Sky Blues, as do all of us. That's been, again, a big ingredient of the success. The team spirit, the camaraderie that we have within the club and in the building has gone a long way to what we've delivered. So it's been my pleasure. I've really enjoyed it, and I'll do it again anytime you'd like to.
Brilliant. And listeners, do check out our partners Shortland Horn for the latest properties across Coventry. And as always, if you want to get involved in the conversation, all you need to do is use the hashtag SkyBluesExtra podcast on any of our social media channels.
Thanks for listening to the Sky Blues Extra podcast.